I'm not worried about us losing our jobs to robots or any of that stuff. Music, I'm not worried about art because it's just going to be a new version of whatever it is, right?
Right. There's going to be new jobs that are created.
Right. Or we're going to get taken over and
technology.
humanity will end. But honestly, you and I are old enough. I don't give a fuck. You don't have kids. I don't have kids.
We had a good time.
Yeah,
we had a good time on this planet.
Cheers. If it ends,
sounds like a true non-parent thing to say.
Yeah, I could watch kids falling off bikes all day long. I don't give a fuck about your kids.
Recorded live from Studio 12A in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. You're listening to the Josh and Friends Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends Podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh. And we're here today to talk about the passing of two local legends within the Pacific Northwest. On-air radio personality and parody songwriter, Mr. Bob Rivers, and three-time world boxing champion, Greg the Mutt Haugen. And we'll be discussing the rise of these two icons in the 1980s, as well as some of their most well-known accomplishments during their respected careers. But we'll also talk about a new strange product that Domino's Pizza released, and how AI technology can maybe someday play a bigger role in popular music. So let's get right into this and help me welcome back to the program. He is my old pal, the man himself, Mr. Lee Olson. Here he is, Mr. Lee Olson. What's going on, buddy?
Welcome to spring.
Yeah. How do you like spring?
A lot better than all the other seasons. I mean, summer's the best. Now that I'm back in the Pacific Northwest.
You're not a big fall guy, huh?
No.
Oh, okay. You don't like
Fall's
Halloween?
Depressing. Everything's dying.
That's true.
Halloween was cool for like, I don't know, 10 years where we could go and party and girls all dressed slutty. And
yeah.
Now it's like, do I need to leave the light on for some shitbox neighborhood kids? I don't
know. So is there any fun news going on your end, or I know you had some not good news with your eye situation going on.
Yeah, I mean, that sucks, right? I mean, I only talked to like 5,000 people who had LASIK and researched it for like 5 years and finally was like, you know what? It's about time I go in for that. And I went in and I am the person who did not have a good experience with it. So
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, but you take risk when you go into surgery. And in this case, I should have known. Like, it's that weird thing where, like, looking back, you go, fuck, that was a moment I should have known. That was a moment I should have known. But like, these guys did their thing. They're like, hey, you have a really high astigmatism. You've got a high prescription. This is right on the edge of kind of like what we should be doing, whatever. And it diminished the options. They're like, you could go get implanted lenses or whatever, but you'd have to go to Europe because your prescription is so high and whatever. And some of the stuff should have been a red flag. Like, hey, this is a little bit different than normally what they deal with. But then when I went in on surgery day, I had it scheduled on a Friday afternoon. And they put me in like the little waiting room, a little whatever. And I waited there for 2 hours. And it was like 6 p.m. before the doctor finally came in. And he spent almost no time with me. Went in and did the surgery. And ever since then, I've had double vision, double or triple. It actually, the further items or further things get out away from me, the more they double. It's like like a kaleidoscope.
Jesus.
But, you take risk when you do surgery. I should have known better when they had me in that room on a Friday afternoon, everybody hustling around trying to get done. Turns out they had a doctor out sick and they were trying to cover all the patients. Instead of giving the patients the option to say, hey, we're a little busy, we may not be at our best, do you want to reschedule? They just said, come on back, which actually in retrospect really pisses me off because I don't know if they fucked it up or if this is just normal. But anyway.
Lee, I actually flirted with doing this for many years.
Statistically, you should. I would still say statistically, you probably should. I have not met one person who had a bad experience. Everybody says, you know what? I walked out in the parking lot and I could see clear.
But James Dunham had it done. I know a lot of people that have had it done.
Brian's wife had it done. My friend Mike had it done. Jules' friend had it done. Like, wow. I'm not kidding. I asked everybody and I was open with it. Like, oh, you had it. What was your experience? What happened? Did you get dry eye? Did you do this? I did all the research. I did everything I could. I felt great about the decision and it just didn't go good.
Still scary though. Like, there's a lot of people that skydive or jump off cliffs.
Yeah.
And most of the people,
shit sometimes goes wrong. And you know what? This thing the way that they described it, they said, oh, well, the doctor made decisions for your long-term vision that aren't going to be good in the short term. I don't know what the fuck that means, but it should have been communicated to me before they did the fucking surgery. Like, hey, we're going to make some decisions that are going to suck for a minute. Are you cool with that? But I don't trust them. I mean, that's the main deal now is I just don't trust that I don't trust that they're being honest with me. And so now I don't know what to do.
oh,
except bitch and complain, which I'm pretty good at.
Well, is there any good news?
Fuck, I don't know, man. I mean, you know what? Life is good. I'm secure, safe.
Okay.
I live in Bellevue. It's fine. I mean, plenty of other shit, economy turning, construction slowing down, blah, blah, blah. But I have no real complaints.
Okay.
So what about you?
I had a dumb blonde moment the other day.
Okay.
So I was getting over a cold.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get over a cold, or when you have a cold, and you're like hopped up on like drugs and shit, right? Or whatever it is, even over the counter shit, right?
Right.
I was going into the grocery store, and I park next to these two cars. So I get out and I look over to the car next to me because I was like, why is their car running? And I was like, that's weird. But I didn't see anybody in there, so I was like, all right, whatever. So I head on towards the front, and I proceed to walk. I'm almost entering the store, and I check my pockets, and my keys aren't in there.
Did you leave your own car running, and it was yours running and not theirs?
Yes, I did. And I'm like, oh my God. I ran back to my truck, and I'm like, dude, what the? It's moments like that where I'm like, man, wouldn't it be amazing being a bum and be like, is this like my lucky day? Like,
right.
Or just like some fucking like random thief.
Oh man. But also it should scare you because as we get older, man, this is what's coming. Like we just do weird shit. Like you forget your keys in the freezer or some shit.
I told my mom that and she goes, wow. She goes, you're experiencing Alzheimer's more than I am at this point.
That's crazy.
And I asked her, I go, when did your mom get dementia? She's like 74. And I go, how old are you? She goes, 70.
Shit.
And I go, all right. But statistically, it's like when you get older. But I know that there's people that can die of that are
look, I mean, fuck, we've experienced enough now. Like enough of the people of our sort of era have passed away or had strokes or done other shit. Like, hey, it happens. Shit happens. Yeah. So hopefully not for us. But I mean, fuck, that's life. You don't know what's coming. So
right.
Yep.
So Lee, speaking of people that have passed away lately,
of course, let's do the obit list. There's some you can't really keep up with the list, but there's a couple that I wanted to talk about because they're big Northwest people, huge Northwest people who passed recently, and I just thought it'd be weird not to talk about these people. So the first one of these was lightweight boxing champion Greg Haugen. Greg the Mutt Haugen. Yeah.
While he now lives and trains in Las Vegas, the road to his success began in Auburn, Washington, where he was born and raised and still maintains close ties with his family and friends.
Well, I think Greg exemplifies the kind of tradition that we have here in sports. Local boy makes good. He's one of our own, and he's done well, and I think he brings a lot of pride to us. Everybody's always glad to see him when he comes back.
He began boxing in Auburn as a youngster, and from the start, his talent and toughness were apparent.
Greg was the kind of youngster where if Greg was going to be involved with an activity, then it was marked okay by the other kids.
But Greg did not experience an easy life. Raised by his mother after his parents' divorce, his childhood was one of hard knocks and sometimes hijinks.
He came from a family that was a single-parent family. Those are rough on kids. I've raised 6 children. I've worked 2 jobs many times. We all pitched in together.
Undefeated in over 20 tough man contests in Alaska, Greg began to prove himself professionally by winning fights many expected him to lose, including a 6th-round KO over Chris Calvin. His prowess in the ring finally led to a title shot at happier times.
it made me a better fighter, I think, knowing that I had to win all these fights or I wasn't going to go nowhere.
I know that you know this, but it's just funny. When I started my podcast like 5 years ago, there was only one person, and I've told
I remember
this
you said
times,
it, yeah.
one person who was famous, like in quotes, famous, like, you know, now like people wouldn't like really know who he is, but
yeah, but he's an Auburn guy.
There's only one person that I would want to have on my podcast, and that was Greg Haugen.
That sucks so bad. You really tried
several times to reach out. I even tried to like get people that knew him to like ask him and stuff like that. I don't even know if these ever got anywhere near him or whatever. I messaged him like a few times on his Facebook, but I don't even think he was like really messing around with Facebook like after a certain point. So like, all right, I was like, okay, if he doesn't want to do it, that's cool. Whatever.
That's such a bummer though, because that would have been such a cool episode.
It would have been because like I wanted to do that kind of like that Auburn like angle, you know?
Yeah.
So,
man,
and he had like his life should be made made for.
I don't know much about him. I mean, I just know that he's from Auburn and, you know, scrappy, you know, became a world champion. He was like a lightweight or a featherweight, right? Like he was.
Yeah, I think he was like one of those guys that like when he did a couple different classes.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was mainly like a lightweight. But you know, what's funny is his mom worked at the Rail Tavern.
Whoa.
In Auburn.
I didn't
and
know
my
that.
dad used to go drink there and, you know, play pool and stuff like that. And Auburn doesn't have too many people that are like, who's famous from that era, like growing up, that's from Auburn?
Dick Scobie, because he was an astronaut and died, but that's it.
Yeah,
and we wouldn't have known except he has a school named after him.
Right. Yeah. So like, there's a couple people, a couple other like Minoru Yamasaki. He's from there. Do you know who that is?
Didn't he design the World Trade Center?
That's correct. Yeah. Gary Ridgway.
Oh, there's a good one. Sure.
Gary Ridgway.
Yep. Yeah. Is he from Auburn technically?
I don't know
or
if he's from Auburn. I mean, but he
pretty goddamn close. He killed a bunch of people in Auburn.
There you go. Blair Rasmussen was the big one when you're.
Is that a basketball player?
School. He was a NBA player for I think was the Nuggets.
I barely knew that he was a basketball player. So
yeah, okay. But anyway, Greg Haugen. In the 80s, he was a huge deal.
In the 80s, in boxing, and boxing was huge in the 80s. Like
yes.
I don't know if it was the height of boxing, but it sure was for our lifetime. I mean,
yeah. So his most famous bouts, like as far as like good, actual, solid, great boxing matches, were against Vinny Pazienza.
In the red corner, the champion, weighing in at 134 1/4 pounds, from Auburn, Washington, Greg Haugen.
Both these guys are like world-class fucking trash talkers, which is hilarious because like these guys are like really tiny little dudes, but it's like
430
pounds. It's so funny, like, but these guys are like just major trash talkers, right? And Vinny Pazienza, he wouldn't fucking fight him. Greg wanted to fight him so bad that he's like, Pazienza was like, I'll fight you if you come to like Providence, Rhode Island. And he's like, I'll fucking go there. It's like, wow, weird. Like that, because like Greg was like the champ and he went there.
Wow.
So like he went there and he fucking won that. Like if you watch that fight, all these fights are like on YouTube now, right?
Yeah.
If you watch that fight, he won.
Did he get robbed?
Every fucking judge gave it the other way.
Oh my god!
And like, there's rumors that was like a kind of like a mob deal.
Would it surprise you to know that a lot of the sports writers behind me had Haugen winning big?
Well, no, I think it was a close fight. It could have gone either way. I give Greg a lot of credit. He was in tremendous shape. I was thankful I got the shot. I'm going to be a good champion. I'm going to defend it successfully, and I'm not going to lose. Make no two mistakes. I'm undefeated, and I'm the new champion of the world.
You know, he never really did hit me hard and hurt me. You know, and as you can see, he was missing a lot of punches. You know, you guys thought he was just going to punch the hell out of me.
You say you were caught up by the fans. Do the fans, do they influence you in a title fight?
Well, they obviously influence the judges.
So, like the next.
So that's why he wanted to fight in Rhode Island. He's like, you got to fight in my home court because otherwise I'm not going to win.
So the next one, he's like, you need to fight in Vegas or fucking wherever next, and he still like denied him, and he's like, all right, well I'll go to like I think he went to like Atlantic City. I think the next one was and then Greg like beat him there,
beat the shit out of him. Yeah.
And then Greg lost the last one. But it's like, That is so funny, dude. Like the trash talking like is hilarious. If you like see like these old clips of these guys like fucking talking trash, and fucking Vinny has the ends that fucking hated him.
Oh, the guy that I beat twice. Yes. Oh yeah. He's a twat. I hate him. Not a good guy.
Why is there a rivalry there between you two?
You think Greg Haugen might see this?
Doubt it.
Rivalry because he's a twat. He's not a good guy. He's not a good guy. See, I might talk a lot of shit, but I'm a good guy. I'm so glad I beat his ass 2 out of 3 times.
Jesus, okay, good. But Greg's most notable fight, this is the one that people probably most remember, which is a shame because he got his ass kicked in this one, is the one where he fought Julio César Chávez.
Yep.
In 1993.
For years, Julio César Chávez has heard nothing but the cheers of his countrymen. He's never lost a fight. Now, Greg Haugen would like him to hear something he's never heard before.
Adios, Julio.
Chávez versus Haugen, the Grand Slam of boxing. Coming soon.
Did you watch this fight?
No.
This is fucking crazy.
I remember it happening, but I didn't watch it.
So this is at the peak of his fucking cockiness, right? So like he's sitting there saying like, and Julio César Chávez is like, he's 82-0.
Holy shit.
82-0, right? And Haugen, he laughed at that number. And he said, the way I see it, 60 of the guys he fought were just Tijuana cab drivers that,
whoa,
that my mother could beat or something like that.
Holy shit.
Something like that. So like, of course that fucking gets like out.
Tons of press, right?
Yeah, right. And Julio César Chávez was like one of the biggest stars in Mexico, right?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Tomorrow night in Mexico City in front of an expected crowd of more than 100,000 fans who will pay as much as $850 for ringside seats and as little as $1.65 for nosebleed seats. 4 world champions will be on display. Most, of course, will be coming to see Julio César Chávez.
Yo no sé si va a entrar esa gente.
He's not sure if there'll be 120,000 people
Pero
there.
Si entran, pues sería algo muy motivante para mí.
He says, but if they do go, it would be the greatest motivating force for him.
Hype is built through the two fighters, not saying very many nice things about one another.
The only thing that I've said was that Julio fought 60 Tijuana cab drivers, and I don't feel that he's an 84-0 fighter. I mean, that's a pretty puffed up record.
Que Haugen, después de pelear conmigo, ya no va a querer pelear más en el boxeo.
That after fighting Julio, he won't want to step in the ring ever again in his life.
Le voy a dar la peor paliza de toda su vida.
He's going to give him the worst beating he's ever felt in life.
Y lo voy a prometer.
And he says he promises that.
Them to fighting words. Chavez 25-1 favorite to whack out Haugen tomorrow night. We're told now 130,000 will be in attendance. 23 of his wins lifetime have been in title fights. Chavez by far and away the most popular athlete in Mexico today.
He went to Mexico City.
Holy shit.
And people wanted to kill him.
Of
they
course.
wanted to fucking kill him. And
right.
of course he has what's his name?
Don King.
Don King promoting it. So he's fucking just feeding the fire, right? Greg comes out. This is like Rocky IV. Remember when Rocky IV he came out to Living in America?
Yeah. Or fucking red, white, and blue trunks. Yeah.
Yeah. Greg came out just like that.
Oh man.
He came out just like that to Born in the USA.
No way.
He came out to Born in the USA, and it pretty much ended the same way as Apollo Creed, except for he didn't die. But he probably would have if they let him, roam around. But so anyway, that fight, I just want to say that fight still holds the record for the largest paid attendance in history. But it was at Aztec Stadium in Mexico City on February 20th, 1993. There were 132,274 spectators.
Wow.
Just to watch this fight because Greg was running his fucking mouth so much. And it came out after this, Greg was he's going through a divorce or something like that. He was fucking drinking and shit. He was not training for this fight. He just didn't give a shit. It was probably one of those ones, boxers,
right.
They're just fucking, whatever, this is a payday.
Right.
And he probably got paid a lot for this fucking fight. But anyway.
And that's good for the promo. I mean, having that background and being that dick.
Oh my God.
Because those fights are at least as much about having a villain as a good boxer or a good fighter.
Right. I remember watching that lead and I was like, oh my God, he's fucking, this is bold, dude. He's coming out to that fucking song and he's like just doing the fucking motherfucker and he looked like, a white Apollo Creed coming out there.
Right. Oh man.
They said that Lee, they said they had to hold those fucking guys back in the ring, Greg and his like crew, because they were scared that like he would get mobbed, like going back, because people wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
They said like Greg was like, yeah, they were throwing beers on me and fucking piss and shit, and like it was like gross. It's like Jesus, dude.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully he got paid well for that.
Right?
I mean, boxing isn't what it used to be, man. Like that sort of shit people took seriously, and boxing was the real deal. I mean, granted, it was suffering from sort of some fixes and some corruption here and there, but it was still real. I don't know if it's totally changed, but I don't feel like boxing is that anymore. It's too technical anymore. It's too like, guys kind of slipping punches, and it might be good, but like Floyd Mayweather, like he's boring to watch because he's so fucking good.
Just
right?
How bad for boxing was he? Like, because he kind of like did the cheat code, right? Where it's
of course,
like, he's the smart fighter.
Yeah. He's a brilliant fighter, but
so it's like
boring.
he would dance around and like just
and slip punches and slip, and I mean, it's boring.
But it's like, how boring. I mean, you watch a fight like the old Hagler and Hearns.
Or just beating the shit out of each other.
Holy shit.
Just a fucking brawl.
I've had people go and watch that.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's the craziest fight I've ever seen.
Right.
I've never seen people like get hit like that.
That was the heyday of boxing, man. They really just went out there and they hated each other and they fucking put a show on for people and they enjoy it. It was totally different boxing. Totally different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you have like, because UFC took over boxing basically. And then you have like these guys, like they just like love on each other and like, hey man, it's like, so part of the thing is like we're supposed to hate each other.
And I get that we have to protect the athletes and everything, but like back in the day, they'd have like, 18 round fights or unlimited fight. Like you'd see guys fight for 2.5 hours. Like now it's 3 rounds of 3 minutes and that's it. Or 2 minutes, or like they fight for 12 minutes max in a night. And I'm not saying that isn't impressive. I couldn't fight for 12 minutes, but like as compared to like what we used to watch, which were just fucking brawls, dudes who just wouldn't quit, and refs who wouldn't call a fight when the dude wobbled a little bit. I mean, like I get that this is way more humane. I don't want to see people getting genuinely crippled in the ring, but it sure made for awesome fights.
Yeah. It's like, who was someone, I can't remember who it was. Someone said that they're like, what's the most popular sport in the world? I can't remember who said this. And like, people were saying soccer.
Yeah, or Formula One, if Formula One's a sport, but sorry, I guess soccer.
Everyone kept naming the tough sports and he's like, nope. And they're like, then what is it? And he goes, well, you're driving down the street and you see 2 guys fighting, beating the shit out of each other. He's like, do you stop and watch like guys on the street playing football? No. Do you watch guys playing soccer?
Yeah.
Fuck no.
Right.
You stop and you watch people boxing.
Every single time. Yeah.
Yep. You're like, oh fuck, there's a fight. Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to make that kind of argument, then yes, it is.
There is kind of and also that made me think of it. I don't remember which comedian it was, but there's a comedian who was joking about how boxing, if you really get down to it, is pretty gay because it's 2 guys in their underwear fighting over a belt.
That's pretty good. So Greg Haugen, he died of cancer at the age of 64.
Man,
very old.
When you said he died, I first thought, oh man, he lived a long time for a boxer, but not really. I mean, 64. I thought he was older than that. I think because he was so young when he was competing.
Yeah,
like he was. Is he still? Was he a teenager when he was a champion? Like pretty close, right? It had to be super young.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I read his book and like he went up to Alaska and he was just doing like these crazy like tough man competitions and shit like that, fighting guys like twice his size and just beating the shit out of them. I'm like, dude, that's some training right there, dude.
Yeah,
you go up there and you're getting in those kind of fights.
Yep,
and just people throwing like wads of money because there's nothing else to do up there.
Right,
like, oh fucking hey, no.
Right.
So yeah, Greg Haugen. I'm sad
rest in peace, Auburn, man. Yeah,
interview Greg Haugen, but what are you gonna do? So another local legend that we just lost to cancer a couple weeks ago was morning show radio host Bob Rivers.
6:50, 10 till 7 KISW. We're setting up in the other room for our first drummer. And what these are is unofficial auditions for Pearl Jam. We don't have any permission or anything to do this.
Non-sanctioned event.
They're non-sanctioned. But what we decided is with Pearl Jam looking for a good drummer and so many great bands in the Seattle area that we're going to give drummers a drum solo on KISW. And we've got all the gear and stuff to set it up, as you've heard from our Twisted Tune recordings.
Lee, do you have any memories of Bob, Joe, and Spike?
I mean, definitely, we talked about the Tea Party, on one of the album pods, and Spike and I were hanging out all the time because he was always the dude that came to the Mariners to do stuff. I mean, there were a few, and Bob came a few times, but Spike was around there a lot. But I don't have any real firsthand experience with him, except I'd always get the CDs, like the Christmas CDs and the other stuff and all that. So, but Bob was definitely one of the dudes that made Seattle feel like it was still its own thing. Maybe the last of the radio guys to do that.
Yeah.
Like really embrace kind of that, local flavor and I don't know, like.
Definitely. I mean, it helped that he was on KSW and like basically all of the 90s.
Right? Totally right. I mean, he was a huge host, but also even when he went to KZOK and, he was a local guy through and through. And I don't actually know if he was local originally, but
he's from the East Coast. But,
interesting. Okay. But he became that, he sure felt like it here. Like he loved it here. He made everybody feel at home here. I don't know. Yeah, he was awesome, but I don't have any real personal things. I bet. Do you have any personal things with him? I mean, you were kind of around that sphere.
No, I got to work alongside him. I did many promos with Spike and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
But I only did one with Bob, and it was he was doing a signing for Live at Bob's Garage.
Oh yeah.
I think you had played that for you, that CD, right?
Oh, I loved that CD. No,
it was a great CD.
Yeah, that was kind of like the old, KEXP kind of mastered that later. It was like, hey, come in and record a thing in our studio. But he had his studio in like North Bend or whatever.
Yep.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome.
In fact, I need to revisit it. I'm glad we're talking about it.
It's so good.
We need to. I'm sure it's somewhere, right, out on the internet.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But like, it's funny because like, it was so cool sitting next to him because, he was such a nice, sweet guy.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone that came up to him, like, there's a lot of times when if you've been around, like, I'm sure you've been around a lot of, baseball players that are like nice to people in their face, but like when people turn around,
right,
they'll fucking say, fuck that guy,
Right.
But he was like so genuinely nice when people would come up and they're like, dude, yeah. So like, I listened to this and it was like so good, man. And like, he would tell you like he would sit there and like have a conversation with people about all these like different, like each recording.
I think he was like that. That was the thing I was going to mention. I'm glad that you kind of confirmed it because I was going to say it, but I knew that you had been around his sphere a little bit more. He seemed massively genuine and just super nice, like just the sweetest guy in the world.
It's funny because like there's not a lot of people because I've worked with jerks.
Mm-hmm.
Like I worked with pure jerks, right? And he was not one of them. And what's funny about that is BJ Shea was like that too.
Yeah.
When I worked with BJ, BJ was a genuinely nice guy. And those guys have a connection way back, in the same area, Boston and stuff like that, Boston market. But yeah, so that's the one time I got to work with him is basically I was kind of like this. I was sitting he was sitting in the middle and I was just kind of sitting there doing whatever. And that was kind of cool. But the Twisted Christmas albums.
Yeah.
So the first one came out in 1988, right?
Holy shit. Okay.
And it actually was certified gold.
No, those sold a ton.
The follow-up to that album, I Am Santa Claus, I think it came out in 93. That sold over 100,000 copies.
I believe it.
I mean, pretty good for,
that's
being just
a
like a
local parody radio Christmas. Yeah.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. Just like anyone that knew Bob always had like really nice things to say about him. Like there was like, I can't I can't ever remember a story of like, oh, that guy's a fucking asshole, man.
Right.
What a dick.
Right.
You won't hear that about Bob Rivers, which is crazy because like, I mean, a guy in that kind of industry that worked, maybe that's why he worked like so long in the industry, right?
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that's a bummer. I remember some weird stories adjacent to him. Like I know he flew airplanes. And do you remember the Barefoot Bandit, that kid that kept like breaking it? He stole Bob's airplane and like flew it across the country and like crash landed it. Right.
My airplane was stolen by a youngster at the time 17 years old named Colton Harris Moore, who became legendary on social media, stole many more planes and eluded authorities all across the country. At this time, Chuck, at a very low point, considered taking my airplane because he had a key and we were brothers, and getting the insurance money for his family because he was unable to work. What ends up happening is incredible. This media star in social media, Colton Harris Moore, a 17-year-old with a host of problems of his own and difficult upbringing, who had always dreamed of flying, Colton Harris Moore camped outside my hangar, watched my airplane, knew that I wouldn't be using it when I was on the radio, and stole the airplane. The catch to the story is that he stole the airplane at the time that Chuck was going to off himself for insurance money.
Wow.
Yes. So in an extremely amazing coincidence, that I feel is the hand of a higher power of some kind.
Divine intervention, yeah.
Divine intervention, I think that might have saved Chuck's life.
That is right.
Yeah, so weird Bob adjacent story, but like, yeah, that dude stole the teenage kid, stole his airplane, and I think he crash landed in like Oregon or somewhere. I don't know. Or he crash landed another one in Florida somewhere. So he stole a bunch of planes. Whatever.
Jesus.
But anyway,
That's
one
crazy.
of them was Bob's plane, and I remember thinking, shit, Bob had a plane. That's pretty rad. And I think also, I don't know the finances of the dudes who were doing radio kind of in that era, the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, but I feel like that's the last era that they might have actually made some decent money.
Yeah.
My perception now is that they don't. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, not only that, they have to either take massive pay cuts or they just lay everybody off.
Totally.
Like,
right.
I mean, I keep seeing every couple weeks I see, huge layoffs of all these like old radio guys that I used to work with and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, it's pretty much over, right? For radio. I mean,
in that route, I think the new medium is YouTube. You know what I mean? Like being entertaining on YouTube, because you can do the same thing, long form interviews and whatever, and podcasts. I mean, this is the new thing, right? Because radio was broadcast over the air, and it was the only way you could sort of hear things that your neighbor could hear too. Now we can all choose what we want to watch, but it's just different.
Now, professionally, he'll go down for three main things. Like in 1988, Bob gained national attention for an 11-day on-air marathon during a Baltimore Orioles losing streak, where he vowed to remain on the air until the Orioles won a game.
Holy shit.
No Orioles supporter has been more vocal or more enduring than WIYY disc jockey Bob Rivers, who promised to stay on the air until the streak ends. He began the marathon at 5:30 the morning of loss number 11. Over 200 hours, minus a cat nap every now and then.
We're not looking for any Guinness Book of World Records here. We're not looking for a sleepless marathon. We were looking to have Bob on the air until the Orioles won to sort of galvanize the city. I think we accomplished that. His personal life, of course, is he has none. Basically, he stays here at the station. We have an office that we've set up for with a cot, and that's where he gets some sleep. Kind of looks like a dorm room.
98 Rock Rolling Stones ain't too proud to beg. Our afternoon jock, Chris Emery, looked at me and said, if they don't win, you ought to stay on the air until they do. Seemed like a good idea at the time. I figured it'd last a day or two. 98 Rock in hour number 184. Hey! Until the Orioles win a game, We're still here. Obviously, it didn't work out too well tonight. We saw some good things. We saw some pretty bad things, but we're here. I would just like to see the Orioles win one game for now, and then they'll win them all once they come home. And I will just get some sleep, and that will be nice.
And it lasted how long?
11 days.
Wow.
So I know that's like what basically was the first thing that made him kind of like nationally famous, right?
Right.
He also wrote and produced parody songs.
Those were always the
Twisted
albums I loved.
Tunes.
Yep.
Yeah. Those were huge.
Yep.
Like I once read that next to Weird Al, he was like second for like parody tunes, I guess.
Wow. Okay.
And of course, being a mainstay in Seattle for 25 years.
Wow.
25 years in the morning radio market. KISW, KZOK, and KJR.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, do you have a Twisted tune that sticks out? Do you remember any of the Twisted tunes?
Oh man, I mean, I Am Santa Claus was pretty good. I have to reacquaint myself with what songs were there because I listened to that thing all the way through. In fact, I have a copy here signed by Bob and Spike, and I think I have a copy somewhere signed, a CD. Anyway, I got that. I'm sure I got it from Spike, because he was always at the Mariners games. But yeah, I've got a copy signed by all those guys, and I listened to that thing back and forth, and I don't remember which songs. I'm gonna Google here for a second.
I always loved "Asshole Son."
Asshole son, you're a bum.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I do.
Asshole son. And then there's a few that I wrote down here. Most of them were like really kind of cheesy, and a lot of them don't even make sense if like someone was
you're not
listening
from
to
here.
It. Well, you know why though? Too, because like, remember they could pump those out like within the week.
Oh yeah.
Right? So and then they would play them and they'd be like topical, like it'd be very topical, right?
Yep.
So it's like, I remember like in the news one time it was like some lady went in for surgery. And she got like her wrong leg amputated or something like that. Oh
shit! Yeah.
So they made a parody song of The Offspring. He's like, she got the wrong leg amputated or something like that.
He got the wrong foot amputated.
But so like, I mean, listening to some of the stuff is like, all right, it doesn't really make sense, or some of it's overly cheesy.
Right.
But there was like one that, and they would find like these singers
that were really close, right?
It was crazy. Like they had one doing it doggy style.
Yep.
The Heart.
Doing it doggy style.
And then they had Spike would do a lot of these, right? Like
right.
Because he was a good singer. Like he could do like AC/DC. He did a PMS.
Well, it's PMS. She's
it's fucking amazing.
Yep.
One of my favorite ones was is a parody of the Beatles, and they did and again another topical one. But remember, Daryl Strawberry kept getting busted for like drugs and shit.
Yes.
And it starts out, he's like, "Let me take you down to Yankee Stadium where strawberry fields while making drug deals."
Yep.
It's fucking fantastic. But like you said though earlier, with being so intertwined with the area, West Seattle Girls in the style of the Beach Boys, California Girls was fantastic.
Yes.
I wish they all could be West Seattle.
Naming all the different areas and everything. That's what I love about that and like shows like Almost Live. Very overly local.
Regional.
Right?
Yeah. I mean like super low. Yeah. I wonder if we're ever gonna. I mean, coming back to Seattle, it's not the same as it was, and I'm not putting it down, but like, it doesn't have any of that anymore. It doesn't have any flavor like it did when we grew up. And I'm not saying it's better or worse.
Yeah,
but it is weird that like we had sort of a culture. We had a culture here that was really unique, and it was unique enough that people could joke about it, and we all knew it. Like on Almost Live, they used to make fun of all the people in Ballard, and whatever. And Bob Rivers could make twisted tunes about West Seattle girls and, whatever. And I don't know, Mix-a-Lot could joke about, people in High Point or whatever. Like, we had a culture that people sort of understood. Now it's, it
Well,
just isn't there.
Carlin used to talk about that right before he, died. It was like everything is turning into a strip mall, right?
It is, yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, that's kind of part of that, right?
It is.
We're like, okay, you used to have these like mom and pop, restaurants and like all these different kind of stores and stuff like that.
Places people hung out, and now it's
TGI Fridays and Applebee's and all this shit.
Yeah, it is. No, I mean, yeah. Mix-a-Lot talked about going to SeaTac Mall. Well, that's not a thing anymore. Now it's just a mall that's like everything else. So
is SeaTac Mall? No,
I think it's still there. It's just called something. Yeah. It's just totally homogenized, and
Dick's is still there though.
Yeah, Dick's is good. There's a Dick's here in Bellevue.
Do you go often?
No, I don't. I would love to, but no, okay. I'm old, and if I went to Dick's often, it would. It's just, man, you pay a price. You pay a heavy price in old age.
Yeah, getting old.
Getting old. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, rest in peace, Bob Rivers. He was definitely a local legend, and I watched the eulogy his son Andrew did for him. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. He's making jokes and stuff like that, which is fantastic because it's like, what are you fucking?
What else can you do?
Well, he's also a comedian, but he's like making jokes about it and shit like that. And
I gotta say, like, who would have thought that? Like, I mean, Spike wasn't bad health wise, but like, who would have thought that Spike would outlive Bob? Spike's not exactly super healthy. Didn't Joe pass away? Downtown Joe?
No. So Joe is my friend on Facebook, and he actually, several years ago now, he went back and is a teacher now at a high school.
Holy shnikes.
I think in Mercer Island, maybe?
That's pretty rad.
Yeah. So like he's teaching.
That's pretty awesome.
I think he helps out I think he like focuses on like radio.
Yeah.
Like teaching radio, obviously. Like,
cool.
So I don't know.
It is weird what people do after music or radio or whatever, because it does end, like megastars get to be megastars forever. But like, I remember reading a story about another local band, Vendetta Red. Those, like the lead singer, that's a teacher now. Yeah. Like he just teaches people, and he's like, I had albums that, people knew about or whatever. And obviously we have friends who are on the radio and well known who are just living their lives now.
Yeah. And Spike is, isn't he on like Cairo or KGR or whatever the heck that is?
I mean, I'm going to make a comment. Shows. I mean, I think we're going to prove the point here that radio might be dead. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I haven't listened to local radio in forever.
Yeah. Well,
since we were in work trucks that only had radio.
So we were talking about this the other day, Lee, just to move on to the next topic here. What are your thoughts on AI technology?
I mean, it's inevitable, right? Because that's what technology does. We invent technology that can do things better and faster than we can at certain areas. It was only a matter of time until we came upon one that thinks better than us, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like a threat, right? But and maybe it will be to humanity, right? But like Jewel and I think you even sent like this clip where I think Dax Shepard was talking about how, hey, are we going to give Generation Z or the millennial or zillennials or whatever credit for the things they're doing well, which is not drinking and not smoking and not having babies and all that. And the doctor that was in the room was like, well, yeah, that's because they don't go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And we think of this as negative. We think of AI as negative, like, holy shit, these robots are going to take our jobs, they're going to do whatever. But that's going to be the real world, and like, people can adapt to that world too, until the robots start turning us into batteries like in the Matrix, and then they kill us. But so I don't know, man. Like, it's inevitable. This is what happens. You invent things that work better, and they replace things that humans used to do. And if we do this thing where we replace our thinking with things that think better than we do,
yeah,
probably no more wars, right?
Yeah. Well.
I mean, I mean, think about that. So like the going back to the millennial or zillennial thing or whoever the fuck is the young people, they don't go out and meet people, right? They don't go out and go to bars, and they don't whatever. Therefore, they don't get in fucking bar fights, and they aren't social, and they don't want to talk to one another. That might result in a much more peaceful world. because they're
Well,
not
I know
interested in
that-
going out and fighting with one another. Robots?
I've read that a lot of bars, because they're selling so little alcohol, they're working on doing just mocktails.
A $16 cocktail that looks like an old-fashioned but doesn't have a drop of alcohol.
You know, some people might be watching this thinking, you know, if I'm paying $16 a cocktail, I certainly want to get a buzz from it.
It's mainly alcohol drinkers who think that. I've never had someone who doesn't drink alcohol come in here and gripe about it. It's never happened. I mean, you know, occasionally someone's like, I don't want to spend money. Well, here's water. You know what I mean? Like,
Kayla Bryant is a senior beverage analyst at Mintel and says the rise of alcohol-free cocktails is partially driven by Americans placing more value on health and wellness.
The consumer gets that delicious, flavorful, complex drink, and the operator is going to make more money on that higher margin beverage.
Jeannie M. says she often socializes with her friends at bars but doesn't always want to drink. Now she doesn't have to miss out.
Like a third of their shit is like mocktails. I'm like, God, like really? Like,
see, it seems
what's
stupid.
The benefit of
right?
that though? Like, I guess
the social, just the social aspect. Yeah, just being out there and, you know, but as it relates to like AI, it's going to replace a ton of shit, right? Because up until very recently, we were the beings that were capable of thought above all others. That's what put us at the top. Now we have some things that can think better than we can in some ways.
Well, okay, so you brought up the other day, we were having a conversation about how AI can fix like people singing, right?
Yeah.
Like with the Beatles song, like Now and Then. God,
Oh,
what a
right.
horrible song.
Yeah.
Not a good song. It was like George Harrison famously said, it's not a good song. We should not even complete this song. It's rubbish. It's terrible. It wasn't a good song. But what they did with John Lennon's vocals on that song are amazing. They cleaned it up. They made it like a very good, like vocally song by John Lennon, right?
Right.
Now, I was thinking about this the other day. So Paul McCartney, I saw Paul McCartney on the 50th SNL anniversary last month. Now, I love Paul McCartney. I'm a huge Paul McCartney fan. He's probably my favorite Beatle. But, God, he's really struggling.
Right.
Struggling with these songs. He's sang the Golden Slumbers medley, which is great to play live because it just keeps getting crazier and crazier.
Right.
And awesome. But his voice is like, it's like the main reason why I can't get into his music over the last 20 years. It's because I just hear the old Paul singing, right?
Right.
Now, what if they re-released some of that stuff with AI and made him young Paul McCartney?
Right.
How amazing would that be?
Right.
Right? Like I don't know if I'd run out and buy like an album of like AI Paul McCartney, but that'd be pretty cool. Like just to re-release some of these, because like there's some of his stuff that he releases, like the music's good. It sounds really good.
Right.
But what usually makes or breaks a band, we always talk about this, is the singer, really, right?
And so now we know we can fix singing, right? To be pleasant, pleasing, right? And that is no less art than like it's a different thing. Having the ability to create those sounds with the human voice is one thing, right? But the minute you decide to go in a studio and alter those things, then it becomes this other thing. And to me, it's completely reasonable to alter them in whatever fucking ways you want. I think it would be awesome. And I think we brought this up. I really dislike Rush because I can't stand Geddy Lee's voice. But they can fucking fix that now. They can pull Geddy Lee's voice out and put, I think Ethan brought up Chris Cornell. I don't know if Chris Cornell in front of Rush would be good, but we're almost there. We're almost to where we can figure that shit out. Like we can already put different vocals. All this week I've been listening to weird mashups of like AC/DC and fucking like, I don't know, Ludacris, you know, like move, bitch, get out the way. Like that over AC/DC. Like we're all ready to where we can kind of mix and match. But the fact that they can clone voices now and make them sound really good, pick young Paul McCartney and put him over a new song, or better yet, put Paul McCartney in front of the Rolling Stones and see how that turns out. Like,
that's a different project. Like that's kind of like like what you're saying, like a mashup, kind of like taking other bands or other singers and putting them on. But this feels like it's almost not. It's like it's still being loyal because you're still listening to a Paul McCartney song or a Wings song or whatever. You just have younger Paul McCartney.
Well, and that's the thing is it now becomes a continuum, right? Because what is real?
Yeah.
Hey, if we're using real Paul McCartney, but from back then, but we're using robots to do it. Like to me, I don't have any issue with any of it. Like do whatever you want, and we're gonna have those options. We almost already do have the options to just mix and match and put, John Lennon's voice in front of new songs or like whatever. I think it's awesome, and I'm not worried about us losing our jobs to robots or any of that stuff. Music, I'm not worried about art because it's just going to be a new version of whatever it is. Right.
There's going to be new jobs that are created.
Right. Or we're going to get taken over
technology.
and humanity will end. But honestly, you and I are old enough. I don't give a fuck. You don't have kids. I don't have kids.
We had a good time.
Yeah.
We had a good time on this planet.
Here. Cheers. If
That's-
you guys, if it ends,
sounds like a true non-parent thing to say.
Yeah, I could watch kids falling off bikes all day long. I don't give a fuck about your kids. That's I stole that from Letterkenny, but it is true.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
speaking of technology, though, our friend's kid just had a fucking 9-inch piece of fucking titanium pulled out of his leg.
Yeah.
6 months, he's fine. He's fucking broke his fucking femur.
That's amazing.
They go in there, bolt him together. 6 months later, like, let's pull that thing out. 8 screw holes to heal, and the kid's going to be fine.
That is just wild.
What the fuck? Imagine if that was 3 generations ago. Like, you walk with a limp the rest of your life. 5 generations ago, you probably, I don't know, in a wheelchair? Die?
Remember,
I don't know what
say
happened.
that about my brother, too.
Yeah.
If my brother had the brain thing,
totally.
I mean, there's no way he'd even be here today.
Right. So now
I love technology.
So speaking about the technology and AI and all that stuff, think about how, so now the computers are getting so good that they can start targeting individual cells for cancer and shit like that. Like they can find treatments for specific things. We might be saying the same shit about cancer and, really nasty, deadly shit that in 10, 15, 20 years might be the titanium rod in your leg of that period. They were like, oh, I had pancreatic cancer, but I went in and they put a fucking thing in there that changed the fucking cells. I don't know.
Well, hopefully it comes fast because we're all getting cancer.
That's true.
Apparently.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So.
Yeah, hurry up, robots.
Hurry up, robots. And you've been a big believer in robots for taking over certain.
Yeah. I mean, look, people are bad at their jobs, right? We know that. People are bad at their jobs, so we can do better. Like, and also it's kind of tongue in cheek because I do want people to do their jobs and feel good about it, and I want people to feel worthwhile and whatever. But this is inevitable. It is inevitable that technology will supersede humanity at some point. In almost all ways.
Lee, my mom. I just had a conversation with my mom, and she was talking about her very first Waymo ride to the airport.
Wow.
In the self-driving car.
Wow.
And she did not want to take that because she was like, this is way too weird.
Right.
It's creepy.
Yep.
And I don't feel comfortable going in this. She calls like customer service and the lady's kind of like this younger. She's like, no, it's going to be great. You're going to love it and blah, blah. My mom had the greatest experience in this thing. She was like, this is amazing. Like, it's just like crazy. And you don't have to deal with any smelly driver, listening to his shitty music, talking to that person. It's cheaper because you're not paying for the driver.
Yep.
There is no driver. It's like a robot.
Yep.
It's amazing. So yeah, I mean, it's coming. And you know what? If it saves people money to take a self-driving car to the airport, she's like, it was way cheaper.
Yeah.
Way cheaper.
If it's a better product, and that's the way everything is, but like I think we always joked about like the wagon wheel, the guys that manufacture wagon wheels are pissed when rubber tires came along and typewriters got pissed when, computers came along. Like every time there's a revolution in sort of technology, it pushes some people out of what they're currently doing.
Yeah.
But we've always been fine.
The wagon wheel. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about this. Once we have robots that can selectively clean and filter, water, maybe we don't have to fucking worry about having Lake Mead full so that we can irrigate crops. Maybe we can just filter things in a very efficient and cheap way. I mean, I'm not worried about it. And also, by the way, if the robots outsmart us and end up killing us, all right, what the fuck
There's
are you
lots
gonna
of
do?
movies about that, right?
Well, yeah,
It's like
yeah. I mean, The Matrix is kind of about that. Obviously, T2 is about that. Like Terminator 2.
Yeah. All right, Lee. Well, I have a story here. I don't know if you read about this, and it's something that I think you might like. And okay. So I swear that you talked about this like 15 years ago. But Domino's recently announced that they are now selling pepperoni pizza perfume.
Wow. I don't know that I mentioned pepperoni perfume, but I'm sure we talked about very similar stuff. I don't think I was specific to pepperoni, but
My question is, like, clearly the perfume is made for women, right?
I mean, look, if they want dudes salivating over them, I don't know who they're. I mean, look, they're going to attract certain. Anyway, whatever.
I know where you're going. Like, I mean, unless that you wanted to turn some big women on when you're
Yeah, but also again, I think we're talking generationally here. Like the new generation, they're not shaped like us, and they're not interested in the same things we're interested in. So pepperoni might be right down their fucking alley.
I never thought about that.
Like they're into food, and they are not fit. So
that's true. I never thought about that.
Maybe this is the natural progression of attraction. We're turning people into food.
Imagine you're at the club and you're like, someone walks by you and you just get a big woof of like weird pepperoni. I want to actually smell this to see how
I know,
well
right? Yeah,
smells.
because it can't just smell like pepperoni. It has to smell like pizza, right?
Right.
Like pizza, like fresh like the bread and the cheese, and like it has to smell like that. Otherwise, it'd be really, because pepperoni does not smell great. Like if you open a bag of pepperoni, it probably doesn't smell too good. It's cured meat.
But it's very interesting. I wonder how did they make this? Is it just like, anything else where it's just kind of like chemical?
Yeah, they figure what chemicals mimic it, and I'm sure
Because when I smell food and I'm out, I want to go get food, right? So I don't know. It doesn't really. To me, it's not like, damn, I want to. Oh, I just want to.
Oh yeah, no, but I don't think these kids want that anyway. They want to order food in together.
Okay.
Or that's my impression. I don't know. I don't know what these fucking kids are doing. I don't fucking know. They're whatever. My impression is DoorDash, and they sit and play video games and watch TV, and then their mom yells down, "Is your boyfriend still here?"
Hey, Ma! Can we get some meatloaf? Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
And he says, "Yeah, I'm still here." And instead of kicking him out, they're like, "Well, tell him I need some tots on his fucking DoorDash order." So that's my impression. I don't know. That's what I think young people have now. It's whatever.
Just speaking of clubbing, I read that 20 to 25% of alcohol consumers report having no hangover symptoms after heavy drinking, which this has always fascinated me. I always I bring this up a lot because I'm really fascinated with like how certain people they don't ever have hangovers.
I wonder how much of this is technology though. Because I feel like liquor is getting cleaner. I feel like they're finding ways to, I pass Tito's vodka. The only reason I drink Tito's when I drink is because it doesn't give me a hangover, right? Other stuff did. That stuff does not. I passed an alcohol or a vodka bottle the other day that said distilled 6 times because Tito's is 5. I was like, they're getting better at figuring out what causes the unpleasantness in everything, in food.
They always say stay away from the brown.
Right. And so I wonder if that number's going up, the 25% is going up. And also in food, we're getting better at learning what's in food, and that the younger generations are better than we were at reading labels and figuring out what's going in. I wonder if they're just getting better at figuring out what causes those symptoms, and they're eliminating those things.
It's possible. I saw that a lot of it was obviously, hereditary and
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure that's true too.
Because growing up too, like a lot of these people like be like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you're fine?
Yeah.
You fucking.
I was never fine until I drank Tito's.
Trashed.
Right. Yeah.
Are you kidding? Yeah. So. All right. Anything else, Lee? Or is there anything else you'd like to add? Or
with
the kids out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just the AI, the technology thing. I mean, that's the and actually it sort of wraps up this entire episode because, like we talked about radio and deaths and things like that. Like fighting, I think is going away, right? Like I think Greg the Mutt Haugen, those guys are going away. Like actual combat sports are going away. I think football is going away. It's holding on longer than I thought, honestly, because pretty soon they're going to be able to simulate that just as well. I don't know if you saw the crazy technology that they have for replays and shit at the Tokyo Dome for the Tokyo series, baseball. It looks like a video game because they have sensors all over the fucking field. And so they can do, right. So like that's real baseball, real things on the field being turned into fake. We are really, really on the doorstep of fake being acceptable as real. And then humans
about
won't be doing
safety now too.
It is,
right? Like the guys that wear those big giant helmets,
right?
With the massive pads.
You know who doesn't get? You know who plays a ton of football and doesn't get CTE? Gamers. And when the video becomes believable enough, that will replace it because you don't have to pay wide receivers $60 million. You can pay a kid. I mean, a lot. You can pay him $10 million, and he can whatever. But I think those jobs, radio is going away, fighting is going away. I think combat sports, driving is going away, and that's all going to be technology. That's where we are in society. We're in a weird spot where this stuff you can genuinely see the end of a lot of things that made our society what it was, and we're going to have to figure out what's next. It's going to be kind of fun.
Bars are going away.
Bars are going away.
I mean, like the bars that we knew are going away.
Social drunkenness is kind of going away. Right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, who can argue that's a bad thing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for social lubricant and getting people to meet each other. But if that isn't what these kids are into, then it's not good for them. I don't know.
Well, Lee,
it's really interesting.
What's the dumbest thing you ever did while drunk?
I mean, ride my motorcycle fast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't do that very often, but once in a while, yeah, I think twice. I remember one time I pulled into the club and I don't know where we had been or whatever, but I pulled up and one of the promoters pulled me aside. He's like, "Hey, dude, you can't ever do that again. Like, we need you around." And I was like, whatever, bah, because I was drunk.
Yeah.
But seriously, I rode, yeah. Those things, like, I only drove drunk a couple of times, which is a couple of times too many, but like those are the worst things I did because they put other people at risk also. The dumbest shit I did for me, I don't know, fuck, I don't even remember them. I
remember you stole that sign that one time.
I mean, I stole signs. I stole cars. I don't know. Like, I always return them. I did dumb shit. I mean, I still do dumb shit. That's why I don't drink in public anymore. So, but dumb shit, I never really did anything terrible. I tried to steal the hams. Yeah. I tried to steal the Hams bear from the Swiss. I don't even remember that.
No.
Yeah.
A lot of theft going on with Lee and drinking.
What's the dumbest thing you did drunk?
That's a good question. What is the dumbest thing I've ever did?
I mean, specifically while drunk,
Probably the dumbest thing I ever did. I was in Seattle this one time, and we all rode in a vehicle down there, and I ended up getting in a fight with the driver. And I told him to fuck off, and he drove off, and then I ended up walking all the way.
That was me. You got in the fight with me.
Yeah, that was you.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember being so pissed because I'm like, first of all, I was like, "Why are you pissed? What the fuck? What's the deal?" And we were all, actually, I wasn't drunk. I was the one person who was because I was the driver. I wasn't drunk. And I remember just getting my perspective on that whole night was, I was trying to herd cats. I was like, let's go. Let's get everybody here. And you were pissed. Something happened. And you're like, fuck you. I'm not going to get in the car. And I was like, look, we're going. I'm tired of herding people around. Get in the fucking car. You're like, no, I'm doing it. And finally I was like, fuck it. I'll just go. And then, yeah, you ended up walking home like.
See, that's the shitty, stupid shit about alcohol. It's like,
it totally is. Yeah.
Just doing
it was
stupid
about
shit.
nothing. Like, really, that night, if you say, whoa, whoa, what was the argument about? No idea.
Yeah, I don't either.
No idea.
I have no idea. 0.0 idea.
Yeah, maybe these kids are onto something.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Too bad they're
Anyway.
going to grind us up for fucking Soylent Green and feed us to each other. I don't know.
All right, Lee. Well, I think you've said it all. You've said it all.
We've said enough.
You've said enough. We've said it all. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. No.
All right. All right, buddy. Well, thanks for coming on. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
We'll have you get on soon.
All right.
And yeah. So you just keep your chin up. Everything's gonna get better.
Which chin?
Everything's. Oh, all right. For Lee Olson, I'm Josh, and as always, thank you for being a friend.